Pastor Benny Hinn is celebrating 40 years of ministry, taking the gospel to the nations of the world.
Look to our precious Jesus today, who saves, heals, delivers, prospers, and blesses. This is your day for a miracle.
The Lord loves you today. Please, I want to remind you how special you are to Him. You know, I love what Paul said. He said, I am persuaded that neither death or life or angels or principalities or powers or things present or things to come or height or depth or any other creature will be able to separate you from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus. Somebody say amen. Listen, I have a very fascinating guest with me today, Dr. Craichy, and I like to call you doctor because you are a doctor. And you know, he's helped a lot of people with nutrition, nutrients. You've kept many people healthy and strong and alive. And I really want to talk to you today about the future of medicine, the future of nutrition. And you know, what is the latest on heart disease, cancer? I mean, right now, I was reading something today about the amazing breakthroughs with cancer. It's really remarkable.
It is. It could be better. Essentially, I was just on a documentary on finding the cure with 50 other experts, and it's really fascinating what is known out there, but it's not in the mainstream. But in order, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to see you.
I'm so glad you are here, and he's a wonderful friend of our ministry, he and his dear wife, Monica, and your amazing children, by the way. Wow. Okay, keep going, please.
So I guess really to go there, you really have to start with how I got into this and what drove me in the change.
What got you into nutrition and what you're doing now?
When I was young, I did a lot of performance nutrition stuff. Okay, but my wife, I finally met the woman of my dreams. I married her. She was Miss Florida. She went to Miss Florida USA. She competed both Miss America and Miss USA, third runner-up at Miss USA, first in swimsuit. I say this to say, magnificent woman. You know her. She's a beautiful woman.
Absolutely.
We were married for just a couple of years, 3 years, had one baby, and she crashed. This woman who was fearless would go anywhere in the world, flew to Amman, Jordan.
Crashed like mentally?
No, like physically and mentally, emotionally, the whole bit. She would fly to Amman, Jordan, and play concert pianist, concert for the Prince of Jordan. I mean, she was no limits. And then one day she crashed and she had nothing but limits. She literally was bound to our bedroom. Wow. She would go somewhere and say, I'm afraid, I can't move, you gotta come get me. I'd get to the office, within 20 minutes I get a call and say, hey, you gotta come home, I'm afraid. And it's like, well, what are you afraid of? So she had clinical depression, suicidal thoughts, and panic attacks. I mean, she was really messed up. And so that was my real first big experience with the medical system. So I took Monica to the doctor, and they put her on Xanax and Zoloft and psychotherapy. And she was completely wigged out. And so we figured within a couple of weeks being on that she could not continue that path, and it couldn't have been God's plan for her to be a patient for life. And we really only just started to discover the Word of God, but when I would read the Word to her, this is kind of this is part of the same thing, I read the Word to her, she felt like it was like honey coming down over her head. And so she literally flushed the meds, and I made a decision at that point I was going to dive in the medical literature, and I was not coming out without an answer. I had to save my precious Monica, and my life has just really turned upside down because this is like we saw this amazing life.
So what did you find now? You went first searching for medical.
Well, see, I was the president of a medical device company at the time, a pacemaker company, so I had an understanding of the literature. So I just dove in, and there was scant information on panic attacks and clinical depression and suicidal thoughts. It was just like, you know, give them a pill and hopefully they get better. So what I did is I went in the literature and I just looked for every little clue. And so things kept coming up over again and again and again in the medical literatures. I mean, these things are like 7 keys that were even outside of nutrition. We tried hard to get there through nutrition, and it made a long way through just nutrition. But we found out that it was hydration and nutrition and exercise and stress and sleep and environmental hazards and meditation and prayer. Now you say, well, how does all that work together? Well, if you don't drink right, it affects you in a lot of ways. It like your blood flows. It's water, basically. You're 75% water. And so if you don't have water in there, you have things instead of water, you're actually causing all kinds of complications. You can thicken the blood, for instance. Imagine how your blood is filtered through the kidney if it's thick. Okay, you can think about the problems that could happen from that. There's all kinds of problems. Nutrition. I was talking to a guy on the way over here, and I said, you know, what'd you have for breakfast? And he told me what I had for breakfast. And I said, does it take an expert like me to tell you what you did was very bad for you? He goes, absolutely not. So people know what to eat, or they know what they're eating isn't right, but they don't really know how to eat right. And so eating right makes a dramatic difference. We know that if you cut the calories, you max out the nutrients, you increase the antioxidants, and you increase the healthy fats, that combination has been proven in the literature with more than 3,000 studies to show that it increased energy, delay disease, enhanced performance, optimized weight. The things that we're looking for, quote, in the fountain of youth can be found right there at your dinner plate. But instead, many people are digging their grave with a fork, and so it's really a big problem. And so you move from there to exercise. I mean, everyone knows exercise is good, and if it were a pill, everyone would want to have one, right? They would pay whatever it takes, but for some reason they don't move, and you have to move, and it's really important.
Even walking, they say, you don't even have to do, you know, hard stuff, just walking.
Park the car a little farther away from the mall, take the stairs into the elevator, little things like that, they all add up at the end of the day. So these kind of things are critically important. So we started looking across these things. Stress, oh my goodness. Stress is the root cause of many diseases we deal with today. Stress, I mean, not stress like athletic stress, because that's good for you, or even parachute jumping that can be good for you. It's the repetitive stress that we have every day, hot schedules, financial stress, marital stress, those kind of things will actually rip people's health away from them. And so if you have too much stress, you don't sleep well. Well, guess what? If you don't sleep well, you have stress. And so too little sleep, you can't lose weight if you have too little sleep. It makes your brain shrink. I mean, there's all kinds of things wrong when I don't have enough sleep. And then the hazards that we do, like the cosmetics we use, have thousands of chemicals on them that aren't even approved. They put on the cosmetics, or you walk through the lawn and you have lawn chemicals, and the glyphosate. Roundup is very terrible for your health. There's so many things we have to know about in that area. And then, of course, meditation and prayer. So when if you don't have meditation and prayer, that causes all kinds of other problems in our lives, as you talk about here all the time. So the point is, Monica was deficient in all 7 of these keys, and it was...
So repeat the 7 keys again.
Okay, hydration, nutrition.
Just slow, because so they can maybe write them down.
Okay, hydration.
Our dear people watching.
Nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep, environmental hazards, and meditation and prayer. And so when you think about these combinations, most people watching right now are deficient. Just on my own studies over the last couple of decades on this, most people are deficient in at least 4 of those 7. So if you think about 4 of those 7, you cannot function properly without a physiologic consequence with deficiencies in 4 of those 7 keys. Even 1 will cause physiologic consequences. And so people are out there saying, I need to lose weight. Well, guess what? How are you sleeping? Not sleeping well. How much stress you got? I got a lot of stress. How's your nutrition? Not very good. What are you drinking for? What's your main drink you drink? Well, I drink sweet tea. And you start thinking about all these things, all these areas where people are totally messed up in because their high stress lifestyle pushes them towards maybe comfort eating or something along those lines. So every one of these things, and in particular meditation and prayer, it's the Mantra Project at Duke University. When I looked at it, I said, listen, I don't want to look at it from a minister perspective and say, hey, you need prayer and meditation. I want to look at what the literature says about that. What does the medical literature say about that? And it says people that meditate, they live longer. They have less stress. They sleep better. I mean, the list is pretty...
You mean those who pray?
Those who meditate and pray. I mean, you can meditate on the Word, okay, or you can pray. I mean, it's all prayer.
When you say meditation, people think of some...
I'm not talking about Far Eastern meditation.
But I can tell you, I meditate on the Word of God by simply thinking about what I just read. So you read a chapter and then go through it in your mind. Right. That's all really he's talking about.
The Bible says meditate on the Word day and night. So that's what I'm talking
exactly.
about. So meditate on the Word, and then prayer. Mantra Project, they did prayer, two groups of cardiac patients. One was cardiac patients that are on a prayer list worldwide, and the other cardiac patients were not on a prayer list worldwide. And neither of them were told about the prayer list. And the ones on the prayer list had 50%.
So it's scientifically proven.
50% less side effects.
Wow.
Okay. So that was the basis of what we're talking about. And they said, where's medicine going? And so all of these things that I learned in these 7 keys, it comes back again and again and again.
It's amazing how many people you've helped with those. One of them is my own daughter, Jessica, who told me, she said, Daddy, I mean, you've got some stuff that you've got some powder and stuff like this that she takes.
The living fuel.
Yeah. And by the way, he's written an amazing book we'll talk about. Future of Medicine and Nutrition.
Well, let's back up to the history of medicine. So you go back 50 years, okay, and 40 years, and 30 years, and 20 years, and 10 years. Every decade, you'll look back and something they were doing in what was called standard of care medicine is now heresy. Okay, so if you think about, they used to do it this way, they used to do it that way, used to do bloodletting. You think about all the things that they've done up to the years, you'll find things like the certain cancer cares, the way they do them now, will be heresy at some point. Immunizations will be heresy at some point. Antibiotics right now are running out of antibiotics because of the superbug, and so most of them are becoming antibiotic resistant. So they've overused them so long, they're not going to be good anymore. So that's the history of medicine, and there's a lot of problems in the history of medicine, but basically they talk about practicing medicine. We're practicing medicine to try to learn what's right to do for the people, but as more truth comes out, we find out that, well, that wasn't quite right, we need to do this a little differently. But as the Human Genome Project happened, where they actually sliced a human genome and they photographed, they digitized it all, and so now we have so much information about gene expression, genetic expression, and what's happening in the body, that the way medicine is going to change from chemical compounds made in a lab is going to be changed from things like using people's own stem cells, autologous. That means stem cells taken from your own body, either from your blood,
amazing, by the way,
or your fat cells, or your bone marrow, and they spin it out, and then they put it back in an area which needs a little help. And amazingly, they're able to grow, and I mean, they're even experimentally growing organs. They're restoring joints.
I read
doing
that.
all kinds of things. It's amazing. University of Miami's got a lot of great stuff going on in that area. So clearly that is the future. But one day I did a show with a Dr. Smith on my show, and I said, this is called Living Fuel TV, and Dr. Smith was talking about this stem cell therapies. And after the show aired, I got a call from a researcher at Harvard, and they said that it's very interesting that stem cells are very important, but he said when you look in the microscope at a stem cell, you always see these little specks around the outside, and they said those are downstream precursors to stem cells. They're discovering things that, I mean, it's endless depth on both ways on what's happening here, and we're all getting together, the doctors are all trying to figure out how to use this new medicine, if you will, to take people to higher heights, but it won't be chemical compounds. It'll be genetics and stem cells and those sort of things, restoring and adding life to your years and years to your life.
I was just reading today, in fact, about 50 years from now, you will not recognize medicine.
I believe that's true.
That most doctors today don't even believe it's coming, yet it is coming. And by that time, they're going to be amazed at what can be done.
Imagine if you take a stem cell from you and grew an organ, let's say a heart for you, and did a transplant in you with your own heart. The difference that makes now is that if someone gets a transplant of somebody else's heart, they have to get anti-rejection medicine to keep the body from rejecting an organ from some other host. But if you get an organ from yourself that was grown from your own stem cells, and this is not far-fetched, this is happening, that you actually will not need the medication to reject it. But even beyond that, they're figuring out now how to insert the stem cells into the actual organ that's in the body and restoring that itself. So we don't even know where this is going. It just has to be good. And it's so amazing when you think about stem cells. Embryonic stem cells were tried for a while, and it never worked.
I read today, by the way, just, you know, I don't mean to interrupt.
Please.
Where they are going to be able to remove cancerous tumors out of people's bodies without an operation.
I mean,
I know, I read that today.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Now, I don't know how they're going to do that. Was it like some kind of an outside machine or whatever?
I'm not sure what you read about just now.
You know, I began reading all this because of what happened to me and what I had to learn with my recent experience. Because I asked many questions about heart health and this and this and that and future of heart health. I was amazed. I mean, totally amazed at what they told me that can be done right now.
Well, I mean,
it's amazing to me.
I'm sure that where this is going is that what the Bible has said all along, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, all healing comes from God, and all the things that we know and you've preached for 40 years now, is ultimately the answer. And that medicine should just be trying to help guide this process of healing and not try to be such interventionalists, where we actually try to take over.
You know,
the
Lord said, will I find faith on the earth when I come back? And you know, the negative side is man will become a God unto himself and not need God one day because of all the breakthroughs, and we know that. And that's a sad part. That's the sad part. But the positive side is the amazing things that can happen, you know, to people who need to be healthier, live longer, all that. It's really, I mean, to me, it's amazing even with nutrition. Please just
nutrition is fascinating because it's this another miracle. We now know that the brain, the gut, and the heart all have neurons. Okay, we haven't known that before. They always said, you know, the brain had neurons, they can't be restored. Yes, they can. Okay, and so when the gut receives food, it's signaling the whole body. For instance, if you had 6 hard-boiled eggs stacked up on the table here, how many of those do you think you could eat?
Well, in my case, only 2, but anyways.
Okay, 2. Most people are not going to get past 3 because there's a system in the gut called CCK enzyme, cholecystokinin enzyme. And basically, when you get too much fat and protein, the body will signal the brain and say, that's enough. And if you eat another one, you will get nauseous and eventually throw up because of that signaling system. If you take the same egg and you mix it up and stir it up, you could eat a dozen eggs because now you've broken off the signaling system. So all these processed foods that people are eating, the body can't recognize what they are. So you have them all mixed up, and so you don't have this signaling system. Now, carbohydrates don't have a signaling system. So when you eat sugars, you eat until your body digests the sugar, goes in the portal vein, and it ends up touching the brain. As soon as it physically touches the brain, the body says, okay, I had enough, shut it off. But see, that's 20 minutes too late. You have now eaten carbohydrates for 20 minutes. Like if you go to a Chinese restaurant and you eat and you're still hungry and you keep eating, this is because there's no CCK enzyme process involved in carbohydrates. So eating whole foods, whole solid fats and proteins are the source or the key to satiety when you eat and be full. And so many things like this. So we know like wine they talk about. There's a resveratrol in wine. It's a supplement. You can get a supplement, take more supplemental resveratrol than drinking a glass of wine. But when you take resveratrol, we now know that you're getting a genetic expression in addition to a biochemical expression. So instead of being just an antioxidant, we now know that it now it expresses genes in a positive way. And so this takes nutrition to a level we never knew about it before. We were thinking, oh, nutrition, so you just have to fill yourself and stay hungry and you'll be fine. But the truth is that there are 53, say, call it 50 plus essential nutrients. Essential minerals, essential vitamins, essential fatty acids.
50 plus.
50 plus, essential amino acids, and so on. And when you add antioxidants, when you add these essential nutrients together, most people are not getting nearly that many. And if you're deficient in any of them, let's just take a starvation situation in Africa, for instance. Deficient in vitamin A alone, they go blind. Okay, so this is the kind of thing people are doing. They're slowly starving themselves by eating filler foods that don't bring a lot of nutrients to the table. And so when you bring the nutrients to the table, like the superfoods that we make, the superfood you can drink that we make, that you actually are putting.
When you say you make, explain that part.
Our living fuel superfoods that Michael, he's just had 40 days of just fasting on living fuel.
Michael is my son-in-law, yeah.
He's ripped again. So when you have all 53 nutrients, plus superfoods like broccoli, spinach, kale, spirulina, barley grass, now we're discovering new nutrients all the time. That's why I say you can't just say, hey, there's 53, and that's we know it, because there's cofactors, there's conditionally essential cofactors, there's things we haven't discovered yet that you need to get to. So the only way to do that is combine foods and certain nutrients together in order to accomplish that. So it's really important that you get all of these. Now you
put all this together after your wife's...
Yes, that's the reason, because that was the whole thing, the whole launch of my company, my books, the whole thing was the philosophies I learned out of finding these 7 keys and then going back to nutrients and realizing there was a study with rats or mice that are so unique. It said the first group was the all-you-can-eat group. They lived 232 days. They just fed them grains, 232 days, eat whenever they want. Second group was the same food, same amount of food, but they fed them omega-3 also. They lived 100 extra days. Same garbage food, but they lived 100 extra days. The third group of mice, they cut the calories by 60%, by 40%. So 60% of the calories of the first group, same kind of food, same garbage food, and they lived 200 days longer than the first group. And the fourth group, they cut the calories by 40% and gave fish oil, and they live 400 days longer than a 232-day control. So we know that impact of nutrition, if you actually start to understand nutrition, you'll see that disease situations go away that you thought you had. If you have hereditary disease situations, you'll find that you're actually doing better than your parents were. You'll find that you actually feel good, you sleep good, you handle all those 7 keys very well, because having the foundation of your body, see, they call them essential nutrients because you can't eat. You can't just make them with your body, just eat anything your body makes them. They're dietary essential. You have to eat them in order to get them. If you don't eat them, you're not going to get them. If you're not getting them, you have a consequence associated with that. So that's the whole concept, which when I first built this product, because my wife had to have it. And so we didn't realize that within a year it's going to be all around the world. But she gives credit for God using this to save her life, because she was completely depleted, as many people watching right now are completely depleted.
Well, listen, I mean, we're going to talk about how they can get it in just a second. I'm amazed by all the knowledge that you have. What do you see happening in the future with emotional health? Because that's a big one.
Okay, let's just take emotional health. What is it? The first thing is the brain is made of largely docosahexaenoic acid, DHA. If you see fish oil, it says EPA, DHA. That second half of fish oil is what the brain structure largely is. The brain is 60% fat.
And the reason, by the way, I ask this question is because I know people who are troubled in their emotions, and they can't seem to be healthy physically. And you know by the things I've read over the years, and from what the Bible says especially, if you are sick in your soul, in your emotions, you cannot be healthy in your body. It's impossible.
Or in your spirit life.
Exactly.
So the things we just talked about, being deficient in essential nutrients.
Yeah, but I mean, do these affect emotional?
Absolutely, because the
so
brain...
what you eat too.
Look, they have done studies. Dr. Stoll at Harvard on omega-3 connection about 15 years ago wrote a book, and he clearly demonstrated that fish oil was dramatically better than any medicine for bipolar that exists. Straight up fish oil compared to any medicine that exists for bipolar. And this guy's a brainy doctor from Harvard, and he had really very compelling evidence. So not only that, low vitamin D level, vitamin D3, is very terrible for the brain.
So these poor people that go to a hospital and they give them all these drugs that make them all like zombies, you know.
Let me tell you this. My dad, one day my wife and I went to see my dad, and he just couldn't even communicate. We left, and my wife said, "I'm not sure we're going to see him again." And I went right to the desk and I said, "Show me his med list." They showed me 13 medications. I called the doctor and said, "You get him off of every medication that's not absolutely saving his life right now." The doctor immediately got him off. Within a week, my dad had his brain back. This is a clinical situation called drug-induced dementia. It happens all the time.
You know, I heard, we're running out of time, and maybe we'll just do one more show, but I'm hearing about a lot of the military people who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. So many of them are killing themselves after they come back because of emotional trouble.
Well, that's PTSD, but what they don't talk about is the number of immunizations that's given to a single soldier before they go off to war, including anthrax and other things that have so many toxic chemicals that really toxifies the brain in a way that is just astounding.
Like I heard, like 1 every 2 hours in America is killing himself. That's
terrible. Plus, you know, the trauma that they see. I mean, you add all that together with this cocktail of stuff going into their veins, and it's really a recipe for disaster. So a lot of detox could be helpful to those.
You know, is there anything in your book about that can help people?
There's a lot in the chapter called Environmental Hazards. Yes, definitely about that.
Talk about that.
Well, environmental hazards are things like when you get a flu shot. Okay, people say, well, they took the mercury out of flu shots. No, they didn't. They gave Congress gave an exemption to allow mercury to remain in flu shots. So in a flu shot is mercury. There's fetal cell lines from aborted fetuses from 1968. Okay, so every person who gets a flu shot is getting fetal cell lines from aborted fetus.
You're against us giving our children these shots?
Well,
or grandchildren.
The CDC this year said the flu shot was not effective. Last year, it was 9% effective. The year before, I mean, so the point is, it doesn't work to start with. There is no research to tell you this is what we should be doing. This is the problem. And getting the flu, I mean, is not deadly to very many people in the U.S. or anywhere, really. If you're healthy, flu's not deadly. If you're old or very young, if you read the insert on the flu shot, it says, do not take this for old or young. So it's putting them at more risk, you know, to put them on the flu shot. So the point is, that, like you say, how's medicine going to change? These are chemical cocktails that are right now being allowed that won't be allowed in the future. And there's
Listen,
a lot.
Let's continue tomorrow. Okay. Your book. Please talk about your book. What's in it, and why should people get it?
What I want to do with this book is to address the things that people are dealing with. We talked about the 7 keys. I go into the 7 keys. We talked about nutrition. I go into details on nutrition, on how this book can help you change your life with small changes. I talk about things like what kind of water you should be drinking, not just should you drink tap water. What about these water bottles at the store? I talk about the specific kinds of nutrition. We talked about that study. I talked about how you can actually get these 50+ essential nutrients that you require to thrive. I talk about in here about exercise. I talk about high intensity interval exercise, something you can do do in 20 minutes and still get the benefit of having run for 5 hours, or for 5 miles. I talk about remember the exercise program where it's called isoflexion, where you take your fist like this and squeeze it as hard as you can, and you bend your arm. There's 7 exercises in here using that system where you don't even need a gym. You don't need a gym to do these exercises, but you can get the benefit of going to the gym. I have in here strategies on how you create a sleep sanctuary. See, sleep deprivation was a wartime torture where they would keep you awake for days. They'd pour water on you. They'd keep light in your face. They'd slap you around, because once they get you sleep deprived enough, you will tell them whatever they want to know. But see, we sleep deprive ourselves for no reason at all. We'll stay up late to watch the game. We'll get up early, even in the name of exercise. But if we gave away our sleep, then the exercise is it's not going to help you. So there's strategies in here on how to sleep, what supplements to take to sleep, about the sleep medications. In here I have the history of weight loss, about how they did it many years ago, and all for the last couple of decades, the diets that you've been seeing, and what is good and bad about these diets, and what you need to know about them, and what works and what doesn't work, so you can put your own plan together. And then I have the plan that I designed, which I believe is the best that there is based on the research that I've done, and I put that plan in here also. And I put so much information about oxidation, inflammation, glycation, angiogenesis. These are the foundations of disease and how you can manage those through nutrition. So this is chock full of information and scientific research to validate what I'm saying here, and it's an extraordinary resource for.
And it's working for a lot of people.
It's working for a lot of people
that I know. You can get this today for a gift of $35 to the ministry. We'll send it to you right away. In fact, we have those already. And I am really thrilled you came today. So that's the address is on the screen, or you can just call us or write us, Post Office Box 16, 2000, Irving, Texas. See you again tomorrow for another great program with my friend, Dr. Craichy. Bless you.
Dr. Richard Lipman, former nominee for the Nobel Prize in Medicine, describes K.C. Craichy's Super Health Diet as the most remarkable nutrition book of this century, a must-read for everyone who cares about their nutrition and preventative health. This comprehensive but easy-to-understand volume will guide you through the process of restoring and maintaining your health by providing details on the 7 keys to weight optimization, anti-aging benefits, issues specific to both men and women, stress management, childhood obesity, combating dementia, diabetes, and other diseases, recipes and meal plans, and much, much more. K.C. Craichy's Super Health Diet, with over 400 pages of information you and your family must have, can be yours today for a gift of $35. This dynamic, no-nonsense approach is for people of every age and every stage of health who want to supercharge their body, soul, and spirit. Call, write, or visit the ministry website today.
Pastor Benny Hinn sends regular teaching messages through the mail with rich material which will bless and empower your spiritual life.
Many of you are not on our mailing list, and you're missing a lot because we send out teachings in the mail in these brochures. Here's one on the anointing. Here's one on the 3 realms of prayer, beautifully done with pictures, and the teaching is all there. Very nice. Paul Crouch told me years ago, he said, I enjoy most your teachings that you send in the mail. How can you get them unless you're on the mailing list? So write me today, Post Office Box 16, 2000, Irving, Texas. A whole lot quicker to just call the number on the screen that's toll free, or go online.
Don't miss this opportunity to begin receiving Pastor Benny's regular teaching messages through the mail. Write, call, or request them online today. Pastor Benny invites you to join over 2 million Facebook users around the world who like Benny Hinn Ministries. Go to the ministry website and click the Facebook link. And while you're there, be sure to start following him on Twitter. Connect with Pastor Benny.